When I married Michael, I knew his teenage son, Ethan, would become a big part of my life. Ethan had lost his mother when he was only 8, and though Michael had done everything he could to raise him with love, there was always a quiet sadness behind Ethan's eyes. I respected that grief, because I knew it wasn't my place to erase it. It was my place to walk alongside him as someone who cared. Our family wasn't perfect. Blending families never is. At first, Ethan was polite but distant, keeping conversations short and limiting his presence around me. I didn't push him. Instead, I tried to find small, consistent ways to show him I was on his side. Cooking his favorite meals, remembering details about his school projects, and never pretending to replace his mom. But one evening changed everything in a way I could never have imagined. It was a Tuesday night. Michael was working late as he often did, and I was putting laundry away upstairs. Passing by Ethan's room, I heard a sound that made me pause. It wasn't music or the usual shuffle of a teenager moving around. It was low, strained breathing, almost like someone was fighting back tears. I hesitated at the door, not wanting to intrude, but something inside me urged me to check. I knocked softly. "Ethan? You okay?" There was no answer. I waited, then turned the knob just a little. That's when I saw him. Ethan was sitting on the floor beside his desk, his backpack spilled open, papers scattered everywhere. His hands were pressed to his head, and his shoulders shook. The sight hit me in the chest. He wasn't just upset, he was struggling. At first, he didn't notice me. But when he finally looked up, his eyes were red-rimmed. Don't come in," he stammered, trying to wipe his face. I froze, torn between respecting his request and the need to help. I crouched by the door, instead of walking all the way in. "I just wanted to make sure you're okay," I said gently. "You don't have to talk if you don't want to." For a moment, I thought he'd shut down completely. But then, almost like a dam breaking, words tumbled out. "I can't do it," he whispered. "I can't keep up anymore. I'm failing math, I'm letting Dad down, and I don't know what's wrong with me." My heart ached. Ethan was always so quiet that I hadn't realized how heavy his burdens were. I walked closer, slowly, like approaching a frightened bird. Sitting beside him on the floor, I kept my voice calm. "Ethan, you're not letting anyone down. Everyone struggles with something, and it doesn't make you weak. It makes you human." He sniffled, staring at the crumpled homework sheets. "You don't get it. Dad expects me to be strong. He works so hard for us, and I'm just broken." That word, broken, cut through me. I placed a hand lightly on his arm. "You're not broken. You're just carrying too much alone." That night became the first of many long talks. Ethan admitted he had been battling anxiety for months, maybe even years. School pressures, the lingering grief over his mom, and the unspoken responsibility he felt to be the man of the house whenever Michael was away, all of it weighed him down. I realized then that Ethan didn't need lectures or solutions. He needed someone to listen without judgment. So that's what I did. I listened. Over the next few weeks, things began to change in our household. I encouraged Ethan to share his struggles with Michael, though at first he resisted, afraid of disappointing his dad. I knew Michael would never see Ethan as a disappointment, but Ethan needed time to believe that. When the moment finally came, it was on a Sunday evening at the dinner table. Ethan's fork clinked nervously against his plate before he blurted out, "Dad, I need help. School's hard, and I don't think I can handle it alone anymore." Michael's face softened instantly. He pushed aside his plate and leaned in. "Ethan, you never have to handle things alone. Not with me, not with Sarah." He gestured to me. "We're your family. That means we figure things out together." Tears welled up in Ethan's eyes again, but this time they weren't from despair. They were from relief. From there, we took action. We arranged tutoring sessions, talked with his teachers, and even connected with a counselor to help him manage his anxiety. At first, Ethan was hesitant about counseling, but after a few sessions, he admitted it felt good to unload the thoughts he usually bottled up. Slowly, the Ethan who had once hidden behind a wall of silence began to emerge. He laughed more. He joined conversations at dinner. He even invited me to help him study for tests, something I never thought he'd want. One memory still stands out vividly. A few months later, Ethan came home holding his math test with a proud grin. "I got a B," he announced, practically glowing. Michael clapped him on the back, beaming. "That's my boy." But Ethan turned to me and said softly, "Thanks for not giving up on me." In that moment, I realized that walking in on Ethan that night hadn't just changed him, it had changed me too. I had stepped into the role of a stepmother with hesitation, unsure if I would ever truly be part of Ethan's world. But now I knew I was. What happened that night reminded me that families aren't built only on blood. They're built on trust, patience, and love, the kind that grows stronger through shared struggles. Ethan is still on his journey, and so are we as a family. There are ups and downs, moments of frustration, and times when old wounds resurface. But we face them together. And sometimes, when I walk past his room and hear music playing instead of quiet sobs, I think back to that night. The night I walked in on my stepson struggling, unaware that what happened next would bring us closer than ever and change our family forever.